Leeds have got to, obviously Leeds dropping those points against West Bromwich Albion, Ben, it feels like, bizarrely, after the run that we've been on, one loss in 22 in the league, it feels like all of a sudden, with Burnley winning last night and Sheffield United potentially being on, I believe it's the same points by the time we next play. You know, if I think it's Burnley beat Luton, Sheffield United beat Preston, which, you know, okay, let's give it to them. They do this, like, you know, it's based on likelihoods. It, you know, the sort of 2 points separating the three sides, it stinks of not only a close affair, but an immediate reaction at Portsmouth needed from Leeds United. Yeah, very tricky indeed. So suddenly, from a perspective of Leeds United being almost home and hosed, Ben, to a certain extent, you know, the as much as you can get in the Championship, it feels like all of a sudden it's bunched up a little bit, doesn't it? And maybe the psychological impact's going to be tested a bit.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a you're in the tribe there as a Leeds fan. I think there's a bit of that speaking from the outside. I'd be a lot more calm about Leeds for sure, because not just the fact they beat Sunderland and Sheffield United back to back, the way they beat them as well. Although you would have almost preferred that was rounds 45 and 46. Yeah. What a way to go up that would be, by the way. But no, I still look at it, and although people will give me the league table's the only thing that matters, there's a hell of a lot of data and evidence that says Leeds are better than Sheffield United and Burnley. And really, particularly in Sheffield United's case, they've done a hell of a job to be within 3 points and to go, you know, could go level before the next game. Sheffield United have won 13 games by a single goal this season. They know how to win. The manager's doing a fine job. And then you look at Leeds, and long unbeaten run, never lose at home, look really smooth, look really calm. The manager, heart rate doesn't go above whatever unless you beat Sunderland in the 95th minute. And yet it's still 3 points, isn't it? Yeah. Which kind of maybe goes back a little bit to the conversation we were just having, that, you know, the opposition, you can still rack up 73 points because of the advantage you've got over the opposition, whether you're as good as the team that's one place above you or not. It's definitely swung massively in Leeds' favour with the two head-to-head wins. And you cannot ignore the fact that Leeds have already played home and away the entirety. I suppose Bristol City moved to place now, but going into the midweek round, it was the entire top seven Leeds have played home and away. So other than the news that Ampadu's going to be out for a while, there is no bad news for Leeds. They drew a game against West Brom, and it was a bit flat, and they were a bit knackered, and it was what it was. And you can't win every week.
I thought they were good, Ben. Ben, I thought they were good.
I thought they Leeds were or West Brom?
West Brom. I thought they were very good.
Yeah, they've got. Yeah. And what's interesting, Connor, is that is not the pattern of an Elland Road EFL Championship 24-25 game, because they actually counter-attacked a bit. They actually moved the ball. Yeah. And you guys who are season ticket holders at Leeds have got used to, right, which low block are we facing today? And I've got nothing against the team that goes away to the league leaders and, you know, tries to draw the game 0-0 and nick something up. Sunderland did it, for God's sake, and they're really good. So, I think West Brom is a unique challenge in Leeds' run-in, and it's going to go back to Portsmouth. Will be interesting because they get the ball in the box. They've got some good attackers. Fratton's always, you know, difficult place to go, isn't it? But it's easier for me to say. You should have seen me watching Ipswich go to Coventry on that in between round 45 and round 46.
I remember it.
That game lasted 7 hours, mate. So I get it from your point of view, but I'm pretty calm on the fact that Leeds will finish first.
Really? Yeah. I think I agree with you. I think the underlying metrics, and you know, I've become a bit of a data head, and the underlying metrics kind of put Leeds at the top of absolutely everything. When it comes to XG, you know, touching the
clean sheet. Well done, Burnley.
Yeah, but in all fairness, Ben, with how insane their defensive record has been, Burnley, and I completely get this. I did a combined 11 the other day just on a shoot I was doing. I'm pretty sure I put 2 or 3 Leeds players in there, and that's genuinely not from a deluded perspective, but it's from a perspective of, I think Ilan Mele has cost us a lot this season. I'll be honest with you, and I think without him, we're talking about, and I think me and you said it before, and I maybe made an outlandish claim of it being the same as Burnley's, and it wouldn't have been the same, but my goodness, it'd have been close. It'd have been very close. I just feel like the amount of maybe goals chucked in by the goalkeeper has been gargantuan, to be honest. And actually, on a whole, the Leeds United defence has been better than what the stats make up it, you know?
You're totally right, mate. They're actually, and Sheffield United as well. I think Burnley just confuses us all because it's such a ridiculous number. Leeds have got 20 clean sheets and Sheffield United have got 18. They've all been really good defensively, the top three, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, and Burnley have been excellent. I mean, I wanted to touch on as well a player that's come in at Burnley as well. I know we're kind of chopping all over the place here, Ben, but a player that's come in, and we're talking. You know, we've discussed previously Burnley's results. You know, 0-0, 1-1, 1-1, 1-0. But the majority, I mean, they haven't been 1-1 really, have they? They've not conceded a goal in about 400 years. But overall, it feels like Marcus Edwards has come in and maybe given them a little bit more of a dimension. I know they're looking at him almost in the Enzo Lefebvre bracket of just a ridiculous signing at this level. I mean, is there potential that the breach of the top two is Burnley maybe getting in there and Sheffield United forsaking their place for literally just a player of that ilk in the January transfer window coming in?
Could be. Yeah, it could be. It's difficult because Burnley have good, tricky attacking players. I mean, I know Jadon Anthony wasn't, the greatest loan signing at Leeds. Didn't really get in, did he? But the problem is that if they are one-paced and overly methodical to the point people say they are, then you can stop. Like for example, when Farke had Buendia, go ahead, stick 2 men on him. Good luck getting near him. Do you know what I mean? Because the rotation and all the other threats, you're still going to lose, whereas it does feel a little bit like, can you do a man marking job on a slow-paced Burnley team obsessed with clean sheets? Maybe you can, but I forget which the game was. He had a real stunner of a game, didn't he, a couple of rounds back. So, yeah, there's something about that Sheffield United team though this season. Like I said, Wilder seems like the old Wilder. 13 wins by a single. Yeah, especially.
I think it's better. Ben, I think it's because Leeds are there as well.
It probably doesn't help with his motivation, does it? Yeah. But the way I'm seeing it, it's very easy to say with 35 games of info is that the decision is who finishes second and who finishes third. It feels like Sunderland won't finish in the top 3, and it feels like second place will either be Sheffield United or Burnley, in my humble opinion. That's where I am with it. And I know I hear from Leeds fans, "Oh, Ben, you don't understand. You don't understand."
You're kind of like you're kind of obviously content wise, but in general, Ben, I feel you've got a lot of apathy for Leeds United. So, we kind of take you in as one of our own.
Yeah, I get it. And they've thrown away things. I do think you shouldn't mistake last year that forget I'm an Ipswich fan. Ipswich, that was a freak season for Ipswich last season. That is, you can talk about, Leeds tailed off or whatever, but it just isn't going to happen again that the team who finishes second in League One scores 96 points and you don't go up with 90 or whatever it was. So, I get it. But look at the recent run. Look how smooth it's been. Look at the underlying data. Look at the opponents coming up. Look at the fact that the guy in the dugout's won 2 championship titles before as well. And Connor, yes, I know Melier's thrown a few in. You're struggling for a weak link in that team. And also, when I look at the wide guys, I mean, you've done it without a regular number 9. He doesn't totally trust Pirro, even though his goals total's really good. And, Willie Gnonto is a impact sub who would get in every other 11 anyway, wouldn't he?
He would indeed. Mental state then. So we got to this point last season, around about 11 games left. I think Leeds won 3 and 11. We really, really struggled. It sort of literally, coining the song, it all sort of fell apart. Why is that? Why, from your perspective, from an outside, non-bias, subjective standpoint, why is that not going to happen again?
I don't think it's a apples to apples comparison, this one to last year. I reiterate the point about there's no Ipswich freak show team. That could have been Sunderland, but they're too many points behind now. B, there was an over-reliance on two very young players in Ruter and Somerville who were absolutely fantastic. But we all knew what was coming when the ball was over on the right-hand side last season. It's like, right, how quickly can you switch it to Somerville? And he's one-on-one and just destroys everybody, doesn't he? There's more balance in the team now. James, Solomon, Aronson's got a bit more. I know he doesn't necessarily stand out, but you and I have had the discussion that the 10 in a Farker team kind of, gives way a bit to the wide players.
Yeah.
100%. Doesn't he? There's a bit more strength in depth. Tanaka's been a good arrival. Rothwell has got lovely experience for a player to come off the bench. Rothwell might even take the shirt for the rest of the season. I always remember in 18-19, Farker's central midfield for Norwich, I think like Tribal and McLean got in, which is kind of the equivalent of Tanaka and Rothwell, and he just went with them for the end of the season. So there's a chance it might be Rothwell. I mean, Archie Gray was amazing, but you have a real fullback, right back now as well. I think I understand why you would ask the question, but I don't agree with the premise of asking the question, if you know what I mean. I think there's enough differences.
Yeah, of course. And I guess the big sort of bite back when you look at it as well, Ben, it's Burnley have still got to play Sheffield United. Burnley have still got to play Coventry. Sheffield United have still got to play Coventry. Sheffield United have got that Steel City derby as well coming up in 4 or 5 games, which is massive. I want to hark on the side of caution, of course, but it does feel like when you're looking at the games that Leeds have left, I mean, do you subscribe to the notion of, well, the bottom 10, 11, 12 teams start turning into sort of almost like top 6, 7, 8 form sides towards the back end of the season? I mean, me and you've watched the Championship for long enough. We know that can be the case, but I guess if your squad and your quality and your caliber is good enough and your mental state is good enough, you should be able to get over the line in those situations.
Yeah, I can't argue against the historical data, Connor, which clearly says people don't like the likes of you and I talking about the beach at the end of the season. But guys, it exists because you get a disproportionate trend up from the teams towards the bottom and a trend down. The only thing I would caveat that with is, what if we get the scenario where there's a high tide and a couple of teams get loose, then down at the bottom and they're gone before
That's true. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Then that takes a bit of the kind of intensity out of it. But
especially, Ben, when you're looking at like maybe Cardiff at 36, if Cardiff get, let's say, another win this weekend, Luton don't pick up all 3 points against, I believe it's
Burnley away.
Burnley away. I mean, that is, I mean, you potentially, obviously, if Hull get a decent result as well, you may be looking at sort of 7, 8 points there. It's done, isn't it? It's too much.
And that removes your horrible fear that you're going away somewhere 3 games for the end of the season and they are going to fight you with absolutely everything. Yeah. But the point should stand is that Leeds are still better than these teams. They've still got a better squad, a better manager, having a better season, a better pattern of play, regardless of the situation. I get it's a uniquely intense club. And I totally agree with what Farker said last season as well, that those last 6 games, it is so hard to win compared to when you're churning it out in December or whatever, and you're happily winning, game after game after game. When the scrutiny goes, and I see the comments, all the games are on Sky, all the games are at weird times.
Yeah. I think we've got 1 3 p.m. game coming up in about 10 games. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
It's not ridiculous if I'm working for Sky and I want the highest viewership on all the games. Of course, I'm going to put blooming Leeds and Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday and whoever on a derby all the time. So it is what it is. You know, you take the compliment that people want to, watch Leeds on the box, and take the extra TV money. I know the Leeds fans will come back and say, if we had our own channel, we'd make it on commercials and we'd make it on that and screw Sky. But you want 100 million quid when you're up, don't you? So, yeah, I can see that, but it feels kind of honestly like, rather than genuinely thinking stuff's going to trip you up, you're objectively looking for tripwires to think, will that trip us up, rather than I'm terrified of this, which is you're never going to be 100% confident unless you're 10 points clear already. But I feel you're having to work hard to try and find potholes in this road. Yeah.
Ben, you've known me for a while, mate. I normally can be very cautiously optimistic. There's definitely been videos in the past of which I'm a little bit more tentative when it comes to predictions. But this season, I've been very, very positive, mate. Very positive about what I'm seeing, the squad depth, the manager in all effects as well, the ownership. I think it's a really good structure and framework at the club at this moment in time. And I guess that's where it comes back to the conversation of, Leeds fans are arrogant, Leeds fans are this, that, and the other. It's not the case, is it, Ben? It's almost just... It's the case of, if anything, it's the complete opposite. Leeds fans are always the most wary about the run-in. If there's 3 games to go, we're all extremely nervous about faltering, because there's evidence previously of Leeds Joy Division falling apart again.
Yeah, it's just it's not arrogance. I think it's intensity, isn't it? It's I don't know what the population is, but it's a massive city with one club in it, and you know what that fan base is like as well, and you know what that stadium is like. So yeah, I completely get it, but I think this vibe of having a very chilled out European manager who never celebrates a goal and speaks beautifully in his second language I mean, don't get me wrong. I never understood why Neil Warnock and Leeds wouldn't work together. If you had that charismatic, I'm not saying Farke's not charismatic, but someone like Warnock, where it's all charisma, and I think that would make things worse, don't you?
Yeah, it would. It's like two two titans colliding, isn't it? When you sometimes need a bit of a level head. So just in terms of, have you got, just out of interest, have you got Leeds finishing as champions right now?
I've had Leeds finishing as champions all season.